So today we're diving into something really powerful, an exhibition called Aftermaths, Art and Resilience in Dialogue. Okay, let's get into what this is all about. At its heart, this whole thing is built around one single profound question that I think we've all asked ourselves at some point. What follows trauma? What actually happens after the break, the crisis, the big collapse? And to really get into that question, we're going to follow the incredible structure of the exhibition itself. First, we'll talk about why this is called a conversation. Then we'll go through three distinct movements: what remains, how we carry it, and finally, imagining next. And all of that builds up to this amazing idea of a chorus of stories. All right, so let's start with that first big idea. The people behind this are super clear. This is not just a bunch of stuff hanging on a wall. It's meant to be an active, living dialogue. And here's the mission statement, really. The whole exhibition is about exploring these three critical things. First, facing what's left behind. Then, figuring out how we carry that with us. And then, and this is the really important part, having the courage to even dare to imagine a future. And this is not a conversation with just one or two voices. Nope. It brings together 27 different artists and poets. That's 27 unique perspectives tackling these huge questions. So what does a conversation between 27 people actually look like? Well, the creators have this perfect term for it, a polyphonic dialogue. It literally means many-voiced, and you can see it in the wild variety of art forms they use. I mean, you've got traditional paintings, you've got ceramics, but then you also have glowing neon, intricate weavings, digital art, and poetry. Each medium becomes its own kind of language for talking about things that are almost impossible to put into words. Okay, so this brings us to the first part of our journey. Movement 1, what remains? This is all about facing those immediate echoes right after something shatters. This is where it all starts. It's not about looking away from the pain. It's about looking directly at the raw materials of the aftermath. The art here is literally built from these things: the ashes, the wounds, the fragments that are left behind. And this line, this quote, just captures the feeling of this section so perfectly. I mean, think about it. A broken watch, it's a fragment. It's stuck in a single moment of the past. But the idea that it refuses silence, that tells you that even in the wreckage, there's still a story being told. There's still a pulse. Something is still ticking. From that raw starting point, we shift into the second act. Movement 2, how we carry it. And this is the real turning point. It's not just about what's left anymore. It's about what we do with what's left. It's all about the active, hands-on process of transforming loss. So in this part, you can feel the energy shift. The artists are using their craft to actually metabolize the past. The focus moves away from just the static pieces toward these dynamic forces, the voices, the colors, the rhythms, that can take grief and start to shape it into something new. And the key here is that art becomes an action. It's not passive. A poem isn't just about grief, it's actively carrying it. A neon light isn't just a sign, it's an act of reclaiming a city's heartbeat. Weaving literally embeds memory into a physical object. And the portraits? Well, they don't hide the scars, they let them shine, showing you that life goes on. And that whole journey of transformation, well, it leads us to the final and I think most hopeful part of the exhibition, Movement 3, Imagining Next. This is framed as a doorway, a threshold you can step through into whatever comes next. This section lays out this amazing three-step way forward. First, you take remembrance, your memories, and you turn it into your method. Then, the actual act of making something, the craft, becomes a form of care. And then finally, imagination stops being this flimsy dream and becomes the actual infrastructure, the very foundation you can use to build a new future. So, when you put all three of these movements together, what do you get? Well, you get to the big idea, the central theme holding this whole thing together. The idea of a chorus of stories. Yeah, see, this exhibition totally rejects the idea that there's one single clean story about trauma and recovery. A single story is just too simple. Instead, it offers a chorus. And just look at how rich that is. You've got intimate diaries right next to these huge collective echoes, personal family photo albums sitting beside the story of entire city walls. It's messy, it's layered, and it's a whole lot more true to how life actually works. And this is it, right here. This is the takeaway. The stories are multiple because everyone's experience is unique. They're fragile because it acknowledges just how vulnerable this process is. But when you hear them all together, they are incredibly resilient. And so, what you're invited to see isn't the end of a story. It's not a conclusion. Instead, you're there to witness the very, very beginning of countless news stories, new ways of thinking, and new ways of understanding what we all share. Which, of course, brings us right back to where we started. But now, that huge question, it's turned back on us. After seeing this whole process, the confronting, the carrying, the imagining, the final part of the conversation is ours. So, what do you dare to imagine next?